Hey everyone, I have a new kind of video for you all today. This is sort of like a podcast, essentially, where I was able to talk to the Orpheon, who is a really long time running Metroid channel that I've been a fan of for quite a bit. So I got the opportunity to talk to him about the new trailer for Dread, just the series in general, why he cares so much about it, and our mutual love for the series. So I just wanted to put this sort of video out because I think it would be fun and allow a lot of people who aren't that familiar with the series to just see the enthusiasm that we have for the series, and hopefully it'll get you invested. We talk later in the video about, say you're a new fan and say you want to get into the series, how you should go about it. Talk about that as well. So hopefully you enjoy the content. I definitely want to do some more sort of podcast-y stuff on this channel because I don't know, I personally really enjoy listening to podcasts, so making them also kind of fun. So yeah, hope you enjoy. And if you're not here for Metroid, I can totally understand. But I don't know, I definitely just want to preach the word of Metroid, and especially with all the hype surrounding the new game, I want to see if people who are new to the series want to get invested. You should watch this because I don't know, personally I had a lot of fun in this conversation, and I hope you all enjoy it as well. There we go. All right, video has begun. Hello.
Ooh.
Who are you, Mr.
Uh,
Other Person?
I am Other Person. How are you doing? My name is Other Person,
Mm,
but you may know me as Albert from the Orpheon.
mm. Well, this is Mr. Albert of the Orpheon, Fire Metroid YouTuber. Absolutely give him a watch
Oh,
because
thank you.
quality content for real. And I just wanted to have you on here because I know this isn't the most primarily Metroid YouTube, channel, but I wanted to
Yeah.
have you, a solidified Metroid YouTube person, who's had many videos on the topic, on here to talk about why you love the series, and what you think about the new game, all the new stuff in the trailer, just like
Yeah.
the Metroid spiel, you know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense.
In a way, it does.
All right. So I feel like we should just start with the trailer first because
Okay.
it's just that is the newest thing, and I want to
It's
know.
a hot new thing.
It is. It is. And I don't know. I just want like your thoughts on the trailer, like genuine, like since you've been a fan for so long, where do you think the story's gonna go with some of the things that are seen in the trailer? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Well, first of all, like, I guess the rest of the Metric community, I lost my freaking mind when I saw the teaser, but it's not because it was a new teaser for Dread. In all honesty, it didn't show much. It didn't show much, but the main reason that it made me go crazy like the rest of the people is because there was a freaking live Chozo in it, and that's just insane. Mostly because as a Metroid fan, there's been like all these games and all this lore and all these worlds that the Chozo has some sort of impact in them. Be it because they made the Metroids, they made Mother Brain, they trained Samus, they adopted her. They went on various planets like Elysia and Talon 4, and their technology is very rare and precious. And there's all this other stuff that, like, in the world, always they were always like lurking, but in some fashion in the background. You never really got to see them. We all thought, they were goners, or they disappeared, or they died out, or whatever. And lo and behold, here's a live freaking Chozo
Mm.
in Metroid Dread's teaser trailer, and that was enough to make me crazy because it didn't show. When I say that it showed much, is compared to what they showed on the Treehouse event or the actual E3 trailer. The Choso was there, but it was like this, blink and you miss it moment. And now we finally got to see it, like, and know that it's being animated. It's in what appears to be in some cutscene fashion, and this is just pretty insane because for the longest time a lot of us been wondering, what if there was a Chozo in a story, but we all assume they disappeared or whatever. So to finally get one in a game, holy crap, it's so cool.
It just
It's so cool.
totally allows for a ton of mystery that have been ever
Yeah.
present in the story to kind of like either get a confirmation, you know what I mean? Like we actually know
Yeah.
what specific thing. Well, we know what the Chozo have done. You know, the morph suit, the
Yeah,
Varia suit, the morph ball, all that stuff. That all this technology, Mother Brain. You know,
yeah. The
tons
Metroids,
of
they
stuff.
discovered Phazon in a way.
Yeah, they've literally been responsible for almost all the weird, not all of it, but tons of the weird stuff
Yeah,
in the series. And
all the important
seeing,
stuff.
yeah, like the lore stuff, you know. It's just like seeing one that's alive, it could add like so much to the future, but also give us confirmations on maybe things we didn't all like maybe things that we think we know are about to get like changed, but like not in like a way that feels retconny, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It feels like
no, it totally makes sense.
if a
Because
Chozo is here, oh my bad, but if a
no,
Chozo
no,
is like here, ever present in the story, not as like a past sort of manipulator or like someone who's changed the way things are now. Now that one is here, it could allow for not just the world itself to change, but also what I'm most curious in is to see if, which I assume it will happen, Samus's interactions with this Chozo. Maybe this Chozo is a specific person. Like, why is that alive? You know what I
yeah,
mean? I feel like it has a lot of potential, like story wise, especially.
yeah. The main thing that has me excited is because uh, as of now, and I don't know why it's kind of still a debate in the Metroid community, but the only time we've actually seen like a Chozo interact in the story was in the Japanese exclusive Metroid manga that tells the story of Samus's past, and you see these events in the same art style and whatever in the Japanese endings for Metroid Fusion. And in Zero Mission, you see Old Bird with a young Samus when you go into the Chozo Temple to fight the Chozo Ghost when during the Zero Suit section and stuff like that. So we've always known them from the scan logs in Prime, or from the way that they've been depicted as these like wise and rather nice or peaceful aliens, or bird people, as I like to say. But in reality, the manga always said that they used to be ones like a warrior race of sorts, and somewhere down the line, their advancements led to their decay and whatever. So seeing this evil Chozo that's connected to the Chozo memories, and this teaser also shows the Chozo memories, but like in different takes, or with added scenes,
Yeah,
if you may.
like a different perspective. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we see Chozos with full on battle gear and combat and all that stuff. So it's going back to maybe that original idea that Sakamoto had about how the Chozo were in the past before they became these more kind beings, or maybe the faction that refused to change or whatever. So it's just a big deal because we've seen firsthand how dangerous Chozo technology can be used in the wrong hands. Be it because of freaking Mother Brain and the Metroids when it comes to the 2D games, but but at the same time, something like Fusion or Dark Samus, uh, showing the power of the destructive power that Samus herself has, and how dangerous it can be in the wrong hands and stuff like that. But in this case, it's not someone trying to steal Chozo tech; it's a Chozo itself. And the only reason we're assuming it's sort of a villain at this point in time is because of the secret 11 Chozo memory. Because in the 10th one, like I mentioned in the video that I do the analysis about them, in the 10th one that's supposed to be the final one, it shows that the Chozos from SR3D8 that went there and they created the Metroids and discovered the X parasites that were hidden inside the caves as they tried to dig for the Aeon energy. You assume that everything was right and they came back home safely, but but then there's the 11th memory that scared the crap out of me, and it shows this new Chozo that supposed came to the rescue that looks just like the one in the teaser right now. Uh, basically executing them and commanding the rest of his Chozo army to go, I guess, deeper in the planet to either salvage the Aeon energy or the Metroids or whatever. In my opinion, it might be more Aeon energy what they're after, because I'm assuming a Chozo could recreate a Metroid, considering they have the technology and whatever, unless there's blueprints that only existed on SR-388, which I guess could be the case. But seeing how there's Aeon energy back, and seeing how in the Chozo memories, the Aeon energy was more or less the reason why they wanted to stay on the planet and keep digging deeper to find more of that resource. It might be more that they are after this Aeon energy and its capabilities because it's a little bit more accessible than other energy sources, I guess, because it comes from different creatures and sort of the life energy, I guess you could say,
Mm.
or at least that's kind of how it looks in Samus Returns. So that's what has me the most excited. It's that it's a brand new threat. It's a fresh, clean slate for Metroid after ever since after Corruption. It's been space pirates, it's been Metroids or the X Parasites, and now we have a brand new threat to start a whole new chapter in the series, and I couldn't be any happier for it.
Most definitely. I think that your point on how the Chozo were kind of against themselves, it's more
Yeah,
so like the more manipulative side, not manipulative, malevolent side of them when they're
yeah,
always viewed as like this benevolent, really kind and wise
yeah.
race. There's always going to be that sort of like faction that is like branching off from that where they're kind of trying to be
There's
more.
always a couple of rotten apples,
Mm,
and I know the same people say about the Federation. That they're supposed to be the bad guys and stuff like that. But I've always seen the Federation as like the yin to the pirates' yang. Meanwhile,
mm.
the Chozo have always been this sort of gray area because we've never seen them until now. So
They're more of like an outer kind of force that's just like they
yeah,
caused a lot of the events happening now with the kind of like I completely agree actually with your point. The Federation and the Pirates being kind of the opposites of one another, but they all have that little bit that's like, uh, they're kind of bad and well, Spade
yeah.
Pirates are more
It's like
primarily.
there's no bad apples. But for me, the main issue that always came from the Federations being the bad guys is that Metroid as a whole has always been about going and exploring like alien worlds and try to find some new enemy or threats that's trying to take over the galaxy or hide from it. If it's all of a sudden the Federation, then it's more like we're going to try and take down politicians or whatever who's pulling the strings in order to clear our name. And that to me just sounds like a Star Wars prequel. Like, will the
Yeah,
galaxy really believe after all that's happened that someone like Samus Aran is evil? It's
yeah.
like the woman who single-handedly saved the universe so many times.
Mm. I think that's definitely true. I feel like if the Federation was considered a villain in a game, it would really change kind of the tone of the
Yeah,
series
in
as a
the
whole.
perspective, and I wouldn't really like that retcon because say what you will about Other M and all that stuff. I really like the Federation in the Prime series.
Mm.
When you're walking on the GFS Olympus and you talk to the troopers and they go fanboy like, "Whoa, you're Samus Aran and Admiral Dane who's got respect and all this other stuff," and then you're just gonna take that away because I don't know. So for me, I think that it shows what makes it more interesting simply because it causes more of a personal turmoil of sorts to Samus. Yeah, it's been who knows how long since the last time she saw a Chozo, or her adoptive rays that taught her, her strength. They gave her technology. They entrusted their legacy to her, and then all of a sudden to maybe encounter one that's a villain because it doesn't their beliefs didn't align with the ones that raised Samus and all that stuff can just basically create a little bit of a inner struggle in terms of Samus and her past and stuff like that. Not necessarily that I should think it's a story, but it just makes it more interesting for us to think about it, I guess.
Definitely. I feel as though if they do interact, which again, I assume they absolutely will, we
Oh
will
yeah.
definitely see some more stuff like the Chozo stuff in Zero Mission, like where we see her
Yeah.
youth. I think that would be really, really cool to see, and possibly from this other perspective of this other Chozo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they were at the scene as well, and they just abandoned them while the space pirates were going crazy. Or perhaps this is like a huge, what if they hired the space pirates to just kill everyone? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you never know. You never really know with this type of stuff. The one thing I do know from watching the teaser is that where the teaser starts, it's probably going to be the beginning of the game because we see the fusion gunship, and Samus is wearing an orange and yellow fusion suit of sorts, which I'm assuming is the remaining parts of the suit that she had after absorbing the SAX at the end of fusion. But now it's back to healing itself. And then at the end of the trailer, when you see like that purple aura, that might be like what I like to call the bird magic of her losing the power-ups and returning back to the power suit. Because the developer diary that Sakamoto made, he did mention that Samus will start this time from inside the planet, and she's trying to make her way back to the surface. And it has a shot of her like being unconscious on the floor. So I'm assuming that probably maybe early on, it could be even the Chozo the one who takes away her power-ups and stuff like that.
True.
In an encounter. It's worth pointing out that where the Chozo is standing in the teaser trailer, it's right in front of what I like to call an Emmy door. More or less, it's the doors that tell you that beyond this point, there's going to be an Emmy section where there's an Emmy patrolling.
Yeah, the weird like dimensional kind of portal-y stuff.
Yeah. It's the Chozo standing right in front of those. So I'm assuming this is something you see right, either before or after. You never know if maybe the Chozo is even making like a facade to gain Samus's trust, and then like he uses the opportunity with the Emmys to basically hunt her down or keep her at bay. Because from the reports that Nintendo's been putting out since Dread came out, or I should say was announced, it hasn't come out yet. I wish. Yeah. The Emmys are Federation robots, but they were sort of designed to go and scout out if there's any more X parasites remaining and, destroy them if possible. And I guess that one of the mother computers that the Chozo has on ZDR, they actually look like Mother Brain when you look at the gameplay. And Samus in the Treehouse event gets the Omega Cannon from one of them, or the Omega Beam, or a mixture of those. And that's what she uses to destroy the Emmy. And I believe that's one of the robots that were responsible for just basically corrupting the Emmys and making them go rogue and hunt Samus, because there is no way I cannot think that ZDR is not a Chozo planet. There's Chozo statues lying around.
Yeah. And just obviously I know this is like kind of like small brain thinking realistically, but like they look exactly like Mother Brain, and Mother Brain is meant to be the main antagonist, I would say, of the entire series. Like there's no way they're not doing something negative.
It's a Chozo made machine that went crazy with power because she wanted to complete her objectives and stuff like that, but she just had a different perspective from what the Chozo originally intended. So Samus was kind of the backup plan. So it's also kind of nice seeing that, for me, it's more like maybe the Chozos didn't want the Metroids, because if they were able to create more Mother Brain-esque machines in the form of these mother computers, why not? Why couldn't they do the same with Metroids? I know there's some people speculating of whether or not the Chozo is actually an X-Parasite, but considering how the Chozo memories show that the survivors sealed away the Chozos and the Metroids to get, the X-Parasites and the Metroids together. I don't really, and it took, the events of Samus Returns and Samus coming, who knows how long later, to SR3D8, and basically open that Pandora's box and letting the X back into the surface. So I honestly still personally wish it's not an X Chozo, because I just want a regular Chozo. I want the Chozo to be evil because it's an evil Chozo, not it's evil because it's an X parasite.
Definitely.
I think that would just take away a little bit of the impact of, oh wow, it's a Chozo being evil because he wants to be evil, or his own desires align with evil stuff, not because there's some X parasite trying to, stealth propagate on the galaxy and stuff like that. And that's why the Chozo is evil.
Yeah, I think if the X-Parasite, like, it was just like the X-Parasite Chozo, it would feel very underwhelming. Like, it wouldn't feel out of place, I would say, but it would just feel
out of place.
Just, like, kind of disappointing, like, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you've been building up so much to Chozos, and ever since Samus Returns and the Chosen Memories, and people were calling me crazy about Metroid 5 Dread and all this other stuff. Now it's real, and now we get to laugh. That after all this build-up, it's just another X Parasite. It's almost like if I guess you're playing a Zelda game and you're not, and it's kind of like like Twilight Princess, where you think Zant is the main enemy, and then all of a sudden Ganondorf comes over to steal the show at the last minute.
All right, don't we're not gonna diss Twilight Princess here, but you know what?
No,
understandable.
It's just saying it would have more or less that same effect, I guess, or that. You know, you have this. You have a Mario game where Bowser isn't the villain for some reason, and then all of a sudden Bowser is the villain and all that stuff.
Yeah, like the hidden mastermind kind of trope. It's just like, that's a shame.
You already have a chosen. What more of a mastermind you want in the Metroid universe?
They're meant to be the mastermind, like literally.
They are meant to be the masterminds.
Yeah, I was the one thing that I kept thinking about, and I'm really curious what your thoughts on it are as well.
Yeah,
is the fact that they showed off the SAX specifically and like really high rendering, like a cutscene. I'm really curious. What do you think about that? Because personally, I think if the X Parasites are still involved in this story, which I assume they are, like, will the SAX come back? Because that's what I'm really hoping for. But the EMMI is sort of the exact same kind of like function as the SAX. You know what I mean? So I'm not really sure.
So it's really hard to say now. The only reason I say this is because, as I mentioned in my video about Dread, there was this one tweet from Nintendo saying, like, here's the X Parasites, and they might play something later. But I think they maybe announced that simply because they're using the threat of the X Parasites as a platform to build, like, okay, this is why the Federation built the EMMIs, because they want to make sure there's no more X Parasites. And if they are, the EMMIs could safely, find them, report it, and then maybe even, destroy them with their, what do you call it, like stinger thing that they use to defeat Samus.
Yeah, the face stinger thingies.
Yeah. So they did say that there's going to be these story recap about Metroid Fusion on the beginning of Dread, similar to how Samus Returns had one for Zero Mission or original Metroid. So I'm guessing that what we saw is basically just like a hint of the things that are haunting Samus, maybe that she's still a little bit shaken about, the SAX and stuff like that. And these were just glimpses of of how essentially that intro section that Sakamoto mentioned is going to look like, because we've already seen a couple of those before that show Samus with her fusion suit, and then Samus with the X Parasite. But now this time around, we see more. It's just your basic opening for Metroid Fusion. It's the Metroid vaccine, Samus destroying the Horn Toad, the X Parasite infecting her, Samus at the operating table in the opening of Fusion, her with the fusion suit, and then the SAX close-up. So for me, it's more like that's probably just like a reminder for the recap of how this game looks, and they're just adding it there for, hyping people up. That's, that it's taking Fusion story into account and some of the stuff that might have been, character development that happened there. One note I want to point out that I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know if a lot of people noticed, but it's a new redesign of the Super Metroid armor that has some of the same features from the Samus Returns Varia suits.
Really?
Especially when you look at the back. There's one picture where she's fighting the Horn Toad, and when you look at her back, she has the same black section that the Samus Returns Varia suit has. But when you look at it at the front, you can still tell it's like the OG Super Metroid, but it's just like been updated to match with the Samus Returns art style in a way, which I like.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I really like the look of the suit. They did the same with the Fusion suit, and I'm loving it. So I think that whether or not we're going to see the SAX is still up to debate. Seeing whether or not the X Parasites are going to be a story element this time around. Part of me again hopes it's not, so that we can just focus more on the Chozo and the EMMI as the new threats to this Metroid universe, especially since you're promoting the EMMIs as the main threat. They're in the freaking cover, just looming in the distance menacingly. And they have different abilities, and they have different behaviors or powers and stuff like that. So I think that if you already have the EMMIs, like you said, more or less doing the same stalker role that the SAX had, having the SAX would kind of make it feel a little bit underwhelming. It wouldn't be out of place or out of character, I should say, but it might make it a little bit underwhelming and just be cool to us Metroid fans because nostalgia and oh look, it's the SAX again. So it's not like say when Dark Samus appeared, and part of the reason I think she stands out is because she didn't play the same generic stalker role and instead was more of her own character,
Yeah.
and that's what makes her different from the SAX. So they can stand apart from each other. So as of now, my bet is that this is just basically what we're gonna see in that intro section of Dread in terms of like the recap of Fusion.
I think, well, I definitely think the X parasites are going to be in the plot, not like present
Yeah.
forces, but like I think
Yeah.
like the exact reason like Samus is being chased.
Yeah,
If not,
I've been debating whether or not the Chozo's after the X parasites, which I kind of doubt it since a group of Chozo got overwhelmed by an X parasite
yeah, they just
on
got
SR3D8.
a bit
So
destroyed.
why we'll try again? And I'm kind of hoping it's after the Aeon because if Aeon Energies becomes this new resource, kind of like it was with Phazon, then in the future, like moving forward after Dread, then you already have established something that could be a new resource for not only abilities that Samus can get, but maybe something more story wise. Then just let's get Creature A to become Bioweapon B to take over the Galaxy C that we've seen in Zero Mission, that we saw in Super Metroid, and all these other games. So it's not the same like same tune, different station, or however that goes. I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's not just like rerunning essentially the same kind of
Yeah.
formulaic thing. It's like if we
Exactly.
add these elements into the story, you could actually like change the potential of the future. Like the
Yeah.
concept of Aeon itself, maybe after this point, the Federation also is trying to go after Aeon
Yeah.
or something like that. Like
Or even the
it's just-
Pirates.
yeah, or the pirates, exactly. Like the potential of some of these ideas just like, reeks of potential,
Because that's what I think. This game is not only gonna here to like show us essentially what happened after Fusion or to finish the saga or whatever. I think the saga ended quite nicely with Fusion. I think Dread is just trying to open a new chapter in the whole Metroid story that is less about trying to use a specific Metroid as a super weapon or creature, but more open to new ideas in the future. And I think Aeon is a great thing that they already established with Samus Returns to play after, because if the almighty Chozo were craving this power source so much to the point that they decided to dig deeper into SR3D8, and once they encounter the X parasites, they decided to create a Metroid in order to defeat them so they can get more of that Aeon, then I think that speaks volumes for how valuable this resource can be. And I think we've only like scratched the surface of what it can do. If you want to imagine something similar, it's kind of like saying Prime 1 and how that tackled Phazon. That the first game was more like, okay, here's Phazon, and here's kind of one of the few things it can do. It superpowered some pirates and made Thardus and whatever. I think they might do the same here with Aeon when Samus returns, and now that Dread's out, it's going to be like maybe something like Echoes or Corruption, where it shows you the full capabilities of what Aeon can be and stuff like that.
I was actually about to mention because it popped into my head while we were talking about the Aeon. You did a video on Dune and its relation to Metroid, and I feel as though Aeon could sort of fill that role that the Spice does in Dune as well.
I smell launch.
Yeah, I thought maybe
Yeah.
I feel like that could be kind of cool, especially since the elders are really involved in it, and the Chozo are
Exactly.
the elders of this universe. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
so invested in like this specific thing has to be, it's so
This has to be
powerful.
of some value for a species as advanced and as powerful as a Chozo to be this dedicated to using in their machinery or their plots or whatever. They made a couple of power-ups based on Aeon, as we see in Samus Returns, and even new ones that we see in Dread, like the Phantom Cloak and stuff like that. So it's definitely it shows us that the Aeon is not just something radioactive like Phazon, and that's why it's deadly, but more like it can be manipulated to create different things. And that's kind of what has me excited, is that this Aeon can now be the MacGuffin to explain how some new power-ups or stuff that weren't in previous canon works. if we're going forward with there's no more Chozo.
It seems as though the Aeon, like, this might sound a bit like presumptuous, but it seems as though from the powers we've seen of the Aeon, it just has the power to sort of rewrite reality. And I know that sounds
Yeah,
super big brain, but like,
I
you
know,
know,
but it's true because between face drift that basically slows down time around you and
yeah,
the Phantom Cloak.
maybe
To sound even more cheesy, some Infinite Zone level shit.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe that's why well, I don't even think it's maybe that's why. That is probably why the Chozo were
Yeah,
so invested in it. Like specifically with
yeah,
the time sort of manipulation ability. That could allow them to just live for longer and longer and
or
longer. You
whatever.
know what I mean?
It's just the fact that in ZDR, or that ZDR has life forms that also have Aeon. It's also sort of saying that Aeon might not have just been 100% exclusive, I should say, to SR388, but that it could also be in other planets and people are just that people haven't discovered yet. Because who knows the origins of ZDR? Like I keep saying, I think it's a Chozo planet. Why else will there be a Chozo statue or Chozo hieroglyphs and stuff in there, or mother machines, or mother computers? I forgot their name already. But yeah, I'm excited because it feels like a fresh coat of paint to these series that is kind of needed, since the previous two games we've gone in the 2D formula has just been remakes.
Remake, yeah.
So with this being something completely new, or they're selling it to be completely new, let's try. I believe they would try less to just recycle previous story elements. Like they could probably recycle in a boss or two and it'd be fine because nostalgia or whatever, but it's something different when you come in and make it like, oh, it's a Metroid again.
One thing I
I still
am.
think we're
Oh,
I still think we're going to see a Metro or whatever.
oh, definitely, definitely. It'd be weird
Look,
if there was
about
not
it. We're
genuine.
talking about a Chozo. They can make those.
Yeah, the Aeon infused Metroid. Oh,
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be
like some
cool.
kind of new. Oh,
I
and
mean,
in
if
actually
you if you,
in the flashbacks, the photos that show the Chozo flashbacks, it actually
memories.
showed some forms
Yeah,
of the Metroids, like the evolved forms.
yeah, Omega and the Omega Metro. You see Omega and Alpha, but I was gonna say that the Chozo memories kind of hint that maybe it was the Aeon what forced the Metroids to mutate.
Mm,
Uh, so maybe that's the what we already seen about a Aeon Howard Metroids, just like Alpha, Gamma, Zeta, and Omega, and who knows what else could happen.
mm. Maybe there will
I
be.
just
I just have. What if, like, you know how there's a Metroid, the Metroid Prime? What if there's like an
yeah.
Aeon version of that kind of thing?
Ooh,
Instead of
that'd be
Phazon, it's
creepy.
Aeon. Could be something
That'd be
along those
creepy.
lines, maybe.
Giant enemy crab.
Oh, oh no! Out of nowhere, there's just a.
I just hope that they keep it that the Chozo is the main threat. Just so it's a fresh coat of paint, and I'm not just playing what feels to be like a soft reboot or a soft remake of something. Not that it is from what the looks of it and the story and all that stuff, but just I hope they just run with the Chozo because that has so much story potential and so much gameplay potential with just having a Chozo here. I know I keep saying the word Chozo, but A, I love birds, and B, it's the big thing that was in the teaser and the trailer, in my opinion.
I think it is what makes the trailer so interesting. It's just
Yeah,
that is it.
if it weren't for the Chozo bits in it, it'd just be watching Samus land on a planet,
True.
and then some cutscenes,
And then the
some
SAX shows
flashbacks
up.
to fusion. Yeah, and then the flashbacks to fusion.
Oh my god!
Which I'm happy it has hair because now it makes the chibi I made for the SAX helmetless, and she has hair. It's technically canon now.
Yeah, I really like how it's not even just like kind of like. Usually it's depicted kind of like how Dark Samus is with the weird kind of
Yeah,
glowy kind of flesh look, but the
yeah,
hair it's just like the exact same person. That's what makes it
yeah.
so.
Like the SAX would all in terms of I forgot the word, but technically the SAX would just be another copy of Samus with the blank eyes. Compared to I guess the to Dark Samus, who's just her own separate being and stuff like that because Faye is on.
Mm. Um, what was the next thing? I was gonna. Oh yeah, the Metroids. That's what I was talking about. So you know
Yeah,
how the ending of Samus Returns, you fight the the leader of the Metroids on the planet? What if perhaps, just because they have all that, I assume, they have all that stuff still from the previous game, they could probably just rip it into this one. That could be like the Chozo started infusing the Metroids they created there into the Aeon. I like that theory a lot, actually. That's what caused them to evolve, thinking about it realistically.
Yeah, it's at least what I assumed from what I watched in the Chozo Memories, and that's kind of what I proposed in my Chozo Memories videos back when Samus Returns came out, that it was the Aeon would actually force them to mutate, and that's why, and it's because of their mutation that they went like out of control. Because when the Metroid it's in its original form, if you may, we see the Chozo just chilling with it in one of the memories, and then in the next one they're evolving into Alpha, but you see the yellow sort of energy from the Aeon and stuff like that. So, I guess there's still some room to elaborate more on that if they play a role at all in the story. But that's kind of the problem. We're still in the shadows, but in the same time, I love the fact that we're in the shadow.
Yeah, the mystery is what makes it so fascinating. It's just like
it's. I think it's the mystery that's got a lot of people sort of excited about the game. It's just not knowing, and I feel that in today's climate, where games just try and oversell themselves too much before the game comes out, it just generates all this unnecessary hype for them, for the game to eventually come out and not live up to their expectations. I think Nintendo's just doing a good move on keeping Dread as much as in the dark until we get closer to the game's reveal, and then they're just revealing breadcrumbs here and there about it.
Most definitely. This is obviously before Prosafia Gaming tells us everything in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
No big deal. And I remember what I was gonna say earlier. Obviously, Ridley is in charge of the Chozo. Ridley's the big bad guy of the game. Obviously.
I mean, if the Ridley were indeed in charge of the Chozo, then I guess why go through all this trouble, Ridley? Really, why go through all this trouble and trying to get the Chozo technology? It just doesn't make too much sense to me.
Ridley, he's really vengeful, bro. He's really, really vengeful.
I like the manga states that it was one of the Chozo Grey Voice that kind of told Mother Brain where the pirates were at in Zebes, and then Ridley made alliances with him and Mother Brain before Grey Voice had a change of heart and tried to destroy Mother Brain and Ridley, but and that didn't work because if not, we wouldn't have Zero Mission.
Yeah.
But I really hope there's not just like a generic alliance between one and the other, because I like the idea of the Chozo just being here to kick ass and chew.
Yeah, it causes this new chaotic force, It's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah, it's completely new, and neither the Federation or the Pirates have, the strength to stop it. Especially when you consider that these two groups, these two factions have been desperately trying to get their hands on Chozo technology, that they basically raid every other location that has their name on it.
So I have actually, I thought of like the perfect kind of comparison of what the Chozo could be. Do you know anything about like Star Trek at all, or no?
Not that much. My brother, Krokomeyer, he loves Star Trek. All I know is the few bits and clips I've seen of him talking about Star Trek with his friends, or Mike Stoklasa from Red Letter Media.
Yeah. So there's this thing in Star Trek. It's called the Borg. And they're meant...
Oh, okay. I do know the Borg. Know the Borg.
Yeah, I feel like the Chozo are the equivalent of the Borg in Star Trek. If this goes the direction I hope it goes. Obviously, they're not like a hive mind sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're this massive, ancient, far off seeming thing that just sort of crashes into the main story finally.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes it so much more resonant is because, this is Samus's past sort of coming back to now to possibly, like change her entire worldview,
Exactly. That's what has me somewhat excited for. And I just think that, and this is more of a nerd fact, but I just like the fact that the Chozo looks like a crow/raven, because those birds are really smart in real life. There's your random bird fact.
Bird fact of the day. Bird fact of the day. No.
I love birds. So
Mm.
for me, seeing that the Chozo, A are kind of inspired by, I guess they were they're designed from like the from ancient Egypt and
Like
Ra and
raw, yeah.
Horus and stuff like that, and it kind of looks in the way they dress and they have hieroglyphs and stuff like that. And now they're using these birds to represent them. I think it's just a smart design decision, if you ask me, to just use birds that are known for being wicked smart and stuff like that.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I guess that's all really the trailer is for
Yeah.
now. So now I just want to like ask to people who want to get into the game, like what would
Mhm.
you recommend to those who want to get more into the Metroid lore, the Metroid, the story in general? Obviously,
Well,
you have been, a massive fan for so long, and I don't know if you do you know Arlo, the YouTuber Arlo?
yeah,
He made
yeah.
this phenomenal video on the Metroid machine, and and it's like the Metroid machine. And he's talking about how the Wii U has literally every game. I
Oh yeah,
think.
yeah. I've been calling the Xenoblade machine the metric machine for some time now. Nobody believed me.
Yeah, I thought that
um,
was absolutely crazy. But where would you, I guess, recommend people start? Because a lot of people find the original game so like very,
yeah.
very
So
intimidating.
I was actually ironically working on a video that basically tackles this one topic for the release of Dread or any other video. But the long story short, if you want to get ready for Dread, you can go wrong with playing either Metroid Zero Mission, Samus Returns, Super Metroid, and Fusion. I think is going to boil down more to the type of experience you want to get if you're a newcomer. If you want to see more or less where indie games today, Metroidvania games, have gotten their inspiration for their titles like Axiom Verge or Guacamelee or Hollow Knight, then you might want to try Super Metroid because that's sort of what a lot of people consider to be the one game that really put Metroid and the genre on the map and it kind of revolutionized things. Even though the controllers can take a little bit getting used to it, in my opinion, because Samus is a little bit more floaty than other games. But if you want something that the story is closer to some of the things that might happen in Dread, then you can try Fusion because how many times have we mentioned Hex Parasites in this video? And those were the main threat in Metroid Fusion, and Dread takes place right after it. So if you want to get more of an idea of how the narrative could work or the story and stuff like that, then you might want to try out that game, especially because Samus's AI companion called
I was
Adam, not the
about to
one from
say. I was
not
about.
the one from Other M, but the computer is back on Dread as your sort of navigator of sorts. Then you should try that game out. But if you want something that gameplay wise, it's the closest you're gonna get to Dread until that game comes out, then definitely try Samus Returns. It was made by the same team at Mercury Steam, and a lot of the ideas and mechanics they implemented or they first introduced in that game, like the melee counter and Aeon energy and Aeon abilities, were first made in were first shown in Samus Returns, and in that game you also get the Chozo memories that were hinting at the history that happened on SR38, how the Chozo came in contact with Aeon, leading into what's going to happen now in Dread. But in the other hand, if you in the other hand, if you want something that's the shortest Metroid 2D Metroid game you can experience, then definitely give Zero Mission a try. I'd say it's the shortest out of the rest because there's not so much dialogue as in Fusion. It's not as crazy big as Samus Returns, and it's a little bit more straightforward than Super Metroid. So if you want something that's a little bit more catered to a casual crowd, still got some neat secrets, some new bosses, then definitely give Zero Mission a try. And I think that the cool thing about that game is simply that there is like the 15% run where the game makes you really, really try and find all the secrets in order for you to beat it with only 15% or less of the items that you can collect. And sometimes I find that more fascinating than doing the 100% route. So I don't think you can go wrong with trying any of these games out. It would just come down more to a personal preference. What can you afford, or what game, interests you the most in terms of gameplay? That's basically what I would say. And then obviously for Prime games, just play Primes 1, 2, and 3. It's simple as that.
Yeah, like
Um,
genuinely, all the games are just like solid. I
yeah,
would say they're pretty solid.
yeah, it's the magic of like Nintendo games. Getting into Metroid is kind of like getting into Zelda. You can pretty much start with almost any other game.
Hmm.
The main reason I suggested these four, it's mostly because they're in the same gameplay style that what you might expect in Metroid Dread. It's more or less if like Zelda Breath of the Wild after Breath of the Wild 2, they made another traditional Zelda game like Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess, and then you would probably get the closest experience playing those.
Hmm. I was
Before I
gonna
say,
I was gonna add something about Fusion. Fusion's a lot more linear than a
oh
lot of
yeah,
the other games as well. It's just
it's more linear, but I feel that the linearity is fun because it only tells you like here's where you're supposed to go, but then how you get there is up to you.
exactly like the
Because
other
the
ones.
path is not only straightforward. I'd say that sometimes the most linear one is Zero Mission,
That is
because
true.
the chosen statues literally tell you where your next objective is.
True. True.
Um, in the case of Fusion, there's a couple of sections I can think of in the top of my head, be it the BSL station losing power, or when you're in Sector 6 and you don't have Lavaria suits and stuff like that, where the game tells you, okay, you're supposed to get here, but you first need to open like a hatch or restore power or something like that. But we're not 100% sure how you're gonna get in there. Good
Mm.
luck.
Yeah, it's like they give you the way to get there, but not the way. Like they tell you
Yeah,
where to go, but like
yeah.
say there's like a
They tell you
secret
the
way to go.
room where the thing that you need is,
Mm.
but they don't tell you how to get there.
Mm. I was about to say like
It,
sometimes there's like secret routes and stuff that you could
oh
go
yeah,
instead
there's
of
a
there.
lot of secret routes and going outside of the normal map. So that's why I would say is it's less a little bit linear than one Zero Mission than compared to Zero Mission, unless like I said you're doing a 15% route.
Mm.
So my suggestion is that if you have more story related questions and stuff like that, not to toot my own horn, but please consider giving the channel a look, because I've already made a couple of videos going over some of the lore of certain characters and stories of games. So if you're curious about something, hopefully there's already something in there. And if there's nothing, don't feel afraid of just letting me know in comments or social media. And I'd be more than happy to supply with a video answering your questions and stuff like that.
He's a solidified wiki page. He's like
I've been Metroid has been my number one favorite franchise since 2002 or so when I first played Prime. I've
wow.
loved and played and 100% all of them, including Hunters, including Federation Force, including
How about
Other M.
how
Well,
about
Federation Force. To be fair, I haven't gotten all the hard mode medals in Federation Force, but I did do it for the normal mode.
how
That's
about
enough for me.
how about the pinball though?
Oh yeah, as well. I've beaten that game. I've collected all 12 artifacts and gone to the impact crater.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like I've been this huge Metroid nut wiki guy. I guess most of this Metroid random knowledge is just stuff I have stored in the back of my brain.
Hmm.
And I just love the series, and I want to make the channel just so I can help new people get into the series and offer content to veterans. And as long as people are happy, then I'm happy.
Very solid content. Very solid content.
Thanks.
So, I guess the last thing I wanted to do, which actually kind of branches off what you said. You said you got into the series in 2002, which is kind of insane to think about, genuinely, because that's almost like 20 whole years at this
I
point.
know.
It's just like, whoa, wait.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So
Uh,
like besides like Prime, like how did
yeah.
your trajectory go from there? Like did you play the older games or did you just play like the
Okay, so
Game Boy
when I
Advance
got
games?
Prime was my first game. The first game I got to own. I did see like snippets of Super Metroid at my friend's house, whose older brother had a Super Nintendo. In my household, I was the eldest, so our first home system was a Nintendo 64. There was no Metroid games for that. I did see Samosa in this little game called Super Smash Brothers, and I thought that they were cool because robot, whatever.
Very true.
Yeah, but then I played Metroid Prime because one of my best friends brought it over to my house. It blew my mind and how it looked and sort of getting the gist. It's like a first person Zelda styled game. And I fell in love with it. And then later on, thanks to at the time it was living in Latin America, and there was the Club Nintendo magazines, which are like the equivalent of Nintendo Power.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask if it was
And
Nintendo Power.
they had Metroid Fusion on the cover, and I'm like, oh boy, there's another one for the system I already have called the Game Boy Advance, and so I went out and got Metroid Fusion, and I ended up loving that as well. And thanks to having both games completed, I was able to try Metroid on the NES on the Nintendo GameCube. Not the best experience, especially because the controller. But I kind of went back and try and get as much as information as I could about some of these older games. I guess lucky for me, at around the same time, I still have this, and it's crazy. I still have this because I just collect random Metroid memorabilia I can get my hands on. There was this Nintendo promo DVD that they released around the same time that Prime came out, and they were showing off GameCube games and Game Boy Advance games, mainly Metroid Prime, Animal Crossing, and some upcoming games for the system like Wind Waker or Star Fox Adventures. I can't quite remember, but on the Metroid Prime section, they had like a little retrospective of the other games in it, where you got to see like the original Metroid, Metroid 2, Super Metroid, and Fusion, with some gameplay and a little bit of a story recap for those. And then before that, and then after that, it would show you some behind the scenes on the making of certain models or environments and their compositing for Metroid Prime, which I thought was cool when I was a kid, even though I didn't fully understand what I was seeing. But that's kind of how I got my gist into the games. And then I just kept playing the games forward until like the Nintendo Wii came out, and Virtual Console just made playing the older games so much easy. And that's kind of how I got my first go at Super Metroid, because I just didn't have the particular system. And I know people could say I could have always tried an emulator, but this was way before I had a computer of my own. Or I knew how to properly surf the web and find something. So it was thanks to things like the Virtual Console on the Wii that I got to experience games like Super Metroid, and that's why I really hope they did the same for the Switch, because it's a console that a lot of people already have, and they were doing this, online service with the NES and the Super Nintendo. So I expected that they would naturally get to Game Boy Advance or Game Boy games and Nintendo 64, so that people could appreciate some of these older games, because I know the Nintendo Wii for certain helped me experience a lot of older games that I didn't get my hands on in a normal fashion way that I could help the company out. So my story of Metroid's been kind of like going back to what I missed out with Super Metroid 2 and the original, but then also growing up, I guess, in the peak Metroid era of the Prime series, where we got Prime and then Fusion and then Prime 2 and then Zero Mission and then Hunters and then Pinball and then Corruption and then Other M. Was a luck I had, I guess. I still liked Other M when it came out. I think the story is, it's bad because nothing, there's no big consequences or growth in it, but I'll save that for my thoughts in another M video. But I don't think it's as bad as people say it is online.
I think aspects of Other M are really, really solid. Like I remember back you were mentioning Nintendo Magazine, so it came to my mind. Back when I used to have Nintendo Powers and stuff, they had a poster for it, and I still have it. It's just it looks so sick, and I'm just like, man.
I have 2 copies of it.
Oh wow. I was gonna say.
Because I loved it, and I wanted another one, so I went and bought another Nintendo Power magazine. And I can remember that the cover of the magazine, I think it was yellow with Skyward Sword Link on it, or something along those lines. And it just brought a Metroid Other M poster.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was like right in was it the front or the back? Yeah. I don't remember. Something like
there's
that,
2 of them. It's a double-sided, and one side, if you put it horizontal wise, it's Samus doing a lethal strike.
Yeah, the lethal strike in the botany lab, right?
Yeah, in Sector 1. And then the other side is a vertical with Vario Suit Samus and Zero Suit Samus like looking off into the distance in space.
So you needed both to get both sides then. Makes sense.
Of course.
Oh my god. I was gonna say the other thing, you really were in like the prime era, thinking about it, pun intended.
Yeah.
And I think, like, specifically with the Wii, they did a bunch of collection stuff. Like, they did the Mario All Stars, they did the
Yeah,
Kirby collection, and since the Switch is
Prime
becoming,
Trilogy.
yeah, well, Prime Trilogy. But I was gonna say, since the Switch is becoming like one of the like highest selling Nintendo kind of consoles, what if they do like a Metroid collection, since they're trying to really hype up the
This is
series once
yeah, this
again?
is something I proposed in a way in my video of the Metroid retrospective of the original Metroid to celebrate the 35th anniversary. I'm simply happy, to be quite honest, that in a way we're getting a brand new Metroid game to celebrate the occasion, and that on the day of the anniversary, not only did Nintendo tweet out pictures and stuff about Metroid, but they also dropped this teaser trailer, so that was cool and enough for me. I don't know why Zelda fans are complaining about getting a Zelda Game and Watch, because I would eat that shit up.
It's pretty
Um,
cool looking. I mean,
I mean, you put Metroid on something, give me the Nintendo seal of approval, and I'll buy 10 copies. Thank you. Um, and so I would be really happy if they made like a compilation of the 2D games. I just want them to add a little bit more than just the games together. Want something similar to Sonic Mega Collections or Kirby's Anniversary, where they had like commercials and the different modes and more or concept art and stuff like that. More like those games, less like 3D All Stars.
definitely, definitely, because I feel as though, like, obviously Mario is Nintendo's cash cow, besides like
Yeah,
Zelda and Pokemon, but Metroid has always been there since the beginning. It's one of like its oldest
yeah,
franchises. There's a reason Samus is in the original Smash Bros. It's just the
yeah. I
legacy.
mean, if you think about it, after Mario, 1 year after Mario, Link and Samus made their first appearances together in the same year.
Yeah,
And I think also Kid Icarus, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think you're right as well. I'm not that knowledgeable on Kid Icarus, but I'll look around, see if that's true. I was
I just know because the original Kid Icarus just reuses the same engine as the original Metroid, and I believe Gunpei Yokoi was also kind of behind it.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. Gunpei
I get
Yokoi.
more random useless Metroid knowledge I have stuck in my brain.
I mean, it's not useless if you enjoy it for real.
I guess so.
I was gonna say on the DVD, I gotta see that. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
The
Um,
promotional whatever.
maybe one of these days I'll find the DVD player and try and rip some of the stuff that's in it, because it was honestly just trailers that you can easily find out there today. I'm assuming the videos on the DVD are also floating somewhere around in YouTube. I don't know if maybe the Metroid database has them on their channel or something, because I know that they have a lot of Metroid commercials and trailers on their own YouTube channel and stuff like that. But if it's not there, I would probably go out and try and upload it myself so people can just appreciate how back in my days, when there was barely a thing called the internet or YouTube for that matter, we had to get our information through promo DVDs that were giving out with magazines or being at a GameStop or Toys R Us, and they were giving it away if you bought a Nintendo game.
Yeah, like the demo discs and stuff
Y-
as well.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a demo disc. This was more like a DVD.
Yeah, I mean the same era of time they had those too.
Oh no, yeah. Like I admit I kind of miss part of that era. I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, nowadays you can just download demos online. Granted, it's kind of the same, but I guess there was something magical of just getting a DVD that had more than just one game demo on it for a system. They were out there to sell you more the system rather than the game.
Yeah, and I think the physical nature of it just feels like I'm one of
Yeah,
the few that have this. Like
yeah.
something like
It
that.
was just that little extra thing. It's more like kind of like when they released Metroid Prime 1 closer to when Echoes was going to come out, and they bundled the demo disc for Echoes with it. And that alone was enough for like 10-year-old me to buy another copy of Metroid Prime. Because I really wanted to try Echoes
You need that.
before
You
it came
needed
out.
the demo disc. You needed it.
Yeah, and I still have it to this day. I have 2 copies of it or so.
That's
And again,
wild.
it is coming from the guy who's owned every single Metroid game, U.S. and Japanese covers, a couple of Europeans, and a good chunk of them are still sealed brand new.
Well, you can sell it for $1 million in a few
Yeah,
years. No
nah,
big deal.
I rather keep it for a rainy day.
All right.
For a rainy day.
Well,
And I'm certainly gonna go buy like 4 copies of Dread when it comes out.
You need well, now that it's region locked, you don't need to, but you need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look. Game Boy Advance is not region locked, and I still have Japanese versions of Fusion and Zero Mission just because they have different covers and different layouts on their cartridges. They just look nice in a collection.
The collection. You need the collection.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess I'm kind of the collector from the Marvel movies when it comes about
Metroid.
or random Metroid stuff.
Like,
If it's got Samus, if it's got Metroid and it's official, I'll go buy 10 copies of it.
I was gonna say, I know at some conventions, because I have some for the original Earthbound in the Nintendo magazine. Like, you could just, like, they have, like, laminated, like, pages of it. I'm wondering, you've got to have some Metroid ones, right? Like, thinking about it realistically.
I don't have much when it comes to the books because I find taking care of books and magazines is a little bit more difficult. But I do have stuff like that in the case of the games and the figures I own, because I got some of these older Samus figures still, in their boxes and stuff like that. And I do put they sell these protective plastic transparent boxes that perfectly fit the shape of a Nintendo Game Boy SNES or whatever box, and I've ordered a couple of them on eBay, and I have them in those just so that they're extra protected. I do take them out of the box when it's time to record, just so I get less glare on them, but then they immediately go back in.
Yeah, you got to protect the merchandise. Protect the merchandise.
It comes even to the point that I bought 2 or 3 different versions of the Samus Figmas just cause.
The different poses, you can make them all
mostly
different.
poses, and then I guess one to have open and I can play around and make silly poses with it. Right now I have Zero Suit Samus riding a bicycle on my desk.
That's clean. That's clean.
And then the other one I just keep in the box for collector's purposes. You never know if they break or they get paint chipping or whatever.
True.
Considering I bring them all over the place. Like if you see me travel, there's probably a Samus figure in my backpack. Be it an amiibo, be it a Figma, or whatever. There's probably a Metroid goodie in there.
Well, hopefully it's not the squishy brain, the squishy Metroid amiibo. That's too precious. It's too precious.
Squishy Metroid. I have 2 of those.
It's too precious. You can't get rid of those.
I have one in its box in terms of the amiibos, and then I have the open ones that I got from Samosa Comes Back, as I like to call Samus Returns. And I like to bring it because the squishy is nice for like stress relieving. So when I'm working on the office, in college and work, everybody calls me the Metroid guy. I just bring out the Metroid and I start like squishing it lightly in case for work and stuff.
Yeah, the grind gets real. You need the squishy.
I do have a Samus Morph Ball stress ball that I saw on Amazon once, and I love it because it bounces. So when I'm thinking, I can just like bounce it off a wall when I'm thinking about ideas for either a new Orpheon video or work with a client or just general stuff that I'm doing that's unrelated. And then it also works as a stress ball that you can squish. So that way my Metroid amiibo was not suffering that much, because I know saying that will probably make some Metroid fans angry, considering how pricey they've become nowadays.
Yeah, they're in like the hundreds, I think.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I just wish that there was a way that you could just pay for the things they unlock inside the game, to be quite honest.
Or they're
So
just in the game.
So like if the amiibo costs you $15 or $7 or $12 or whatever, sell it for like $7 on the eShop, so that way people can get it
Without like scalping and all.
Yeah, because the main issue is that the Metroid amiibo is what gives you fusion mode on Samus Returns. Thank goodness the Dread amiibos, as of now, they don't unlock anything like crazy or any like, quality of life improvements and stuff like that, like the Skyward Sword amiibo. I would buy amiibos just because they're figures and they're from the characters. Gosh knows that I won't get a Captain Falcon figure outside of the amiibo, and I just needed him on my desk with the rest of the Nintendo obscure characters like Fox. They don't get as many games as Zeldor over there, but It just want the option that if I can get my hands on the physical DLC, that I can purchase the DLC digitally.
Definitely. It just like it's just limiting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I won't say that there is definitely not people online making amiibo cards with the NFC chips that unlock the same thing for a cheaper price. But I want the toy.
Yeah, I'm just saying that possibly there might be,
Possibly.
possibly, you know.
Possibly, you never know.
Yeah.
It's the internet.
Yeah.
Wink,
I
wink,
didn't they have to add the metal thing cuz people could just scan the amiibo through the
Oh
the
yeah,
box?
the box has like a wrapper thing, so you have to open it and stuff like that. I'm still gonna open them because how else am I gonna make them look like a weird Christmas tree and play Yenga when I'm bored?
Mm.
But when it's with the Metroid ones, I've bought one that I keep in the box just so that when I'm making either a picture of the collection or remaking shots for the videos, it just looks nicer presentation in the box, and I guess in a way for simple future preservation, even though we're going to have PNGs and JPEGs of how those looked floating around in the internet. You never know.
Yeah, like having the physical one is just, it's different, in
Yeah.
like decades from now, people will be like, "Whoa." Maybe.
Yeah.
Unless they fall like the Skylanders and then they just kind of like become landfill.
I don't think they're gonna fall because the difference from Skylanders that they're like their own new thing. These are based on popular Nintendo characters. They already have the power of the brand behind them. When is Link or Metroid or Mario gonna fall off in popularity? It's probably gonna be a time that it's gonna be like way too far into the future, if you ask me.
Now the Fire Emblem ones, that might be a different story. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, I have my Lucina amiibo. Next to my Lucina figure, next to my Lucina plushie, next to my Lucina cards.
Oh, no. But yeah, just for a final question. I know this one, this is gonna be a brain racker right now. It's gonna really rack your brain. So
Oh no.
if you were to recommend one of the games, because you said for different audiences, what would you personally recommend of the
In terms
ones?
of
Yeah, in terms of Metroid, yeah.
jeez. If not, I was gonna say Xenoblade Chronicles X. Nintendo port that game already. I'd say I will always go to Metroid Prime 1 and 2 or Metroid Fusion, and it's simply because those are my favorite. I know it's kind of a cop out because I'm putting more than one game, but the reason I'm saying this is because I think Fusion 2D style is very different to the Prime style with the first person adventure game. So that it's more or less in terms of gaming preference. So if you want to try something more modern, 3D, a little bit more story, definitely give Metroid Prime a shot. I would say two because it's my personal favorite, but I can understand that the Dark Aether sections are intimidating, so that's where I'm going to put one in there. And then Fusion, simply because I think that since it's more focused on story and it tells you a little bit where to go, it might be a little bit easier to jump into it, and it still has that challenge from some of the bosses, with like Yakuza or Ceres or Nightmare, that make it not so much a walk in the park, but more of a nice challenge that you can have in terms of adventure and gameplay. And I know that in today's like climate with games now being more stories and games, I feel that those two can be a nice compromise for newcomers to just get a shot at it. It worked for me when I was 10. It'll probably work for you as well.
I think definitely showing like Prime is so different from the 2D
Yeah,
ones.
It's like saying, recommending, I don't know, Majora's Mask or Wind Waker, and then also recommending A Link to the Past or A Link Between Worlds. They're essentially Zelda games, but in the case of Metroid, the Prime series offers a way different experience than the 2D games. And that's why I always like offer one or the other. Not to say that, when Dread comes out, I think that's going to be another great starting point, to be quite honest. If Samus Returns was decent and there's going to be the story recap, I think that newcomers, if they don't have the time or the money or whatever to play the older games, I think they can comfortably jump in with Dread.
We can hope. We can hope.
Yeah, and if they have questions, like I'm always happy to answer.
All right. Well, that was fire. Great conversation.
And also, please put Elma in Metroid or Samus in Xenoblade X, please. Thank you.
Ooh.
No, that's just me.
I don't know if they're gonna update Xenoblade X, but Elma and Metroid, we can hope for. We can hope.
Please, I just want Xenoblade X on the Switch. Every other Wii U game's on the Switch. Why not Xenoblade X?
They didn't put Devil's Third yet, though. They got to put Devil's Third first.
But Devil's Third is not Xenoblade X.
All right.
It's
Well,
not the game that helped. It's not the game that helped make this game called Breath of the Wild. Probably never heard of that game. It's not like Breath of the Wild has an Elma reference in it.
I
That's just
don't,
me. That's
I don't
just
know.
me
That's
being me.
you mean Zelda, not Elma. Zelda, bro. You're
No,
getting the name.
There's a what I like to say in my conspiracy theories, an Elma reference in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, okay. Well, we got to. I'll put a photo of it here. You get a photo of it there. Right. Well, that was the convo. If you enjoyed, make sure to check out the Orpheon. Again, completely solid channel. Tons of videos as well. Not just Metroid. He's got some solid Monster Hunter videos as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to make other videos on other games that I like. I was actually going to start doing that, but then they dropped Metroid Dread. So I put a hold on the videos I have planned for things like Nier or Persona and Star Fox and Mega Man Battle Network. But once we get over this Dread hype, I'll probably get to those.
Once the grind stop, the grind is now. The grind is now.
I don't see it as a grind if I'm having fun doing it, and as long as viewers are having fun watching it, then it's a win-win scenario for me.
True. But yeah, make sure to check out the Orpheon for real. Solid channel, and hope you enjoyed this conversation. Hoping to do more of these in the future on not just Metroid, obviously, but other topics as well. If the time is right, But yeah, if you enjoyed, check them out, and that's it for the talk. So make sure to check out Metroid if any of this was interesting for real, because Metroid is fire, and we love to spread the good word of Sakamoto.
It's a great series that I think needs a little bit more love. Just like Xenoblade X.
Yeah. Now, if we could get Star Fox or F-Zero or Xenoblade.
No, don't get me started, please.
Nintendo has the potential. We're so close.
Yeah, we're so close.
All right. Well, have a good one.